Legacy is not inheritance, it's impact. When most people hear the word legacy, their minds immediately drift toward wealth, property, or possessions that one generation hands down to the next. But those are temporary things. They can be spent, lost, or forgotten. True legacy is something deeper, something intangible, something that outlies material value. It is not what you leave for people. It is what you leave in them. The lasting impression of who you were, what you stood for, and how you lived is far more powerful than any object or asset you could pass along. Think about the lives that have shaped you. Chances are, it is not the inheritance of money or things that left the deepest mark, but the influence of values, lessons, and examples. A grandmother who modeled resilience through hardship, a teacher who saw potential when no one else did, a mentor who pushed you beyond your comfort zone. These people may not have left you tangible gifts, but they left you something infinitely more valuable: the courage to stand tall, the wisdom to make better choices, the belief that you could do more. That is legacy. It's the way someone's character transfers into the fabric of your own life. We live in a culture obsessed with accumulation. Success is often measured by what is owned, what is earned, or what is displayed. Yet the truth is, no amount of possessions can secure a lasting legacy. When the story of your life is told, people will not remember the square footage of your house, the brand of your clothes, or the number in your bank account. They will remember how you made them feel. They will remember the moments when you encouraged them to rise, when you stood firm in your principles, when you sacrificed something for their good. People remember impact, not inheritance. Impact is invisible, but it is unforgettable. It is found in the values instilled, the kindness extended, the courage displayed. It is in the silent lessons passed through actions, not words. A child who grows up watching integrity in action carries that integrity forward. A colleague who witnesses your patience under pressure learns to respond with grace when challenges come. A community lifted by your service continues to serve even after you are gone. These are not things you can leave in a will. They are things you leave in the hearts of people through the daily choices you make. The beauty of impact is that it multiplies. Inheritance can only be divided, but impact expands. If you give someone money, once it is spent, it is gone. But if you give them value, strength, or encouragement, it does not diminish. It grows. That lesson they carry, that confidence they build, that wisdom they apply spreads outward, influencing countless others you may never meet. One act of courage can inspire generations of courage. One seed of kindness can blossom into forests of compassion. Impact has no expiration date, no limitation, no boundary. Every day we are writing the story of our legacy, not with grand gestures, but with the small choices of how we live, how we love, and how we lead. Every interaction is a chance to invest something meaningful into someone else. A smile offered at the right moment, a word of encouragement when someone is ready to give up, a decision to stand for what is right even when it costs you. These are deposits of impact that far outweigh any inheritance. The question we must ask ourselves is simple: are we living for what we will leave behind, or are we living for what we'll live on? Because true legacy is not about securing our name on a building or our picture in a frame. True legacy is the quiet but powerful transformation of people who are better because we were here. And when life ends, what remains is not the sum of what was owned, but the measure of what was given, taught, and inspired. That is the real meaning of legacy. It is not inheritance, it is impact. Values outlive achievements. In a world that celebrates trophies, medals, promotions, and milestones, it is easy to believe that accomplishments are the ultimate markers of a life well lived. But achievements, no matter how grand, are temporary. They belong to a moment in time, tied to circumstances, applauded for a season, and then eventually forgotten. What endures are the values a person carries and instills in others, because values take root in the hearts of people and are passed forward through generations. Accomplishments may define chapters, but values define legacies. Consider the many awards and records that once captured headlines. At the time, they were celebrated, admired, even idolized. Yet decades later, those names and those victories fade into history books, often unread and unremembered. What people hold on to are not the medals themselves, but the courage, discipline, and perseverance behind them. When a person lives with integrity, kindness, and resilience, those values leave impressions far greater than any recognition ever could. People rarely tell stories about the size of someone's paycheck or the titles they held. They tell stories about the principles that guided their choices and the standards they never compromised. Values have a unique power because they are transferable. Achievements cannot be handed down the same way. A diploma, a certificate, a business empire may be inherited or displayed, but they are not guarantees of character. Values, however, can be taught, modeled, and lived in ways that shape the behaviors of those who witness them. A child raised in a home where honesty is non-negotiable will carry honesty into adulthood. A community influenced by a leader who values service above status will continue serving long after that leader steps aside. The influence of values is not bound by time, and it does not depend on external applause. It is woven into the very fabric of human connection. Achievements are also limited by context. A career milestone may be impressive in its era, but irrelevant in another. Technologies change, industries evolve, records are broken. What was once groundbreaking becomes ordinary. But values such as humility, discipline, or compassion never lose their relevance. They transcend time and culture. A person remembered for achievement may inspire for a season, but a person remembered for values becomes a guiding compass across generations. The irony is that even the greatest achievements are often celebrated because of the values behind them. When we admire someone's success, it is not only the victory we respect, but the persistence, creativity, or courage that made it possible. We cheer for achievements, but we aspire to values. A trophy may sit on a shelf, but the discipline that earned it can shape countless lives. This is why values outlive achievements. They continue to inspire action long after the applause has faded. Think about how families tell their stories. Rarely do they pass down a list of achievements alone. They pass down sayings, lessons, traditions, and principles. They say, "She never gave up," or "Hey always treated everyone with respect." Those words become anchors for the next generation. They serve as reminders that while life circumstances change, the core principles that guide us remain constant. Living a life focused solely on achievement risks building something temporary. But living a life anchored in values ensures that even when achievements fade, the essence of who you are continues to shape the world. The real measure of success is not how much you achieved, but how deeply your values influenced others. Achievements might make you famous for a moment, but values make you unforgettable for a lifetime and beyond. Character shapes continuity. Reputation is temporary, but character builds an unbreakable foundation for lasting remembrance. Reputation is what people think about you in the moment. It is a perception shaped by opinions, circumstances, and sometimes even misunderstandings. It can rise and fall with a single event, a single mistake, or a single rumor. But character is different. Character is the essence of who you are, the consistent pattern of choices you make, and the values you embody when no one is watching. While reputation may win attention, it is character that secures trust. And trust, once rooted, has the power to carry your influence far beyond your lifetime. Reputation is fragile because it depends on the external. The approval of society, the applause of peers, or the image carefully crafted to impress others can all shift in an instant. Someone celebrated today can be criticized tomorrow, not because their core changed, but because perception is fickle. But character is internal, and it does not sway with the winds of opinion. It is the foundation upon which continuity is built. A person of strong character may face temporary judgment, but over time, the truth of their actions, integrity, and values outlast the noise of reputation. History has proven that while reputations can be distorted, character has a way of revealing itself and enduring. When people are remembered, they are rarely defined by the gossip or labels of their era. They are remembered for the kind of people they were. Was this person honest when it was easier to lie? Did they remain humble when they had every reason to boast? Did they choose courage when fear seemed more convenient? These are the questions that define character, and these are the stories passed down through generations. A life built on reputation may sparkle for a moment, but a life built on character shines across time. Character creates continuity because it becomes a living standard for others. When someone embodies patience, kindness, or resilience, that example plants itself in the hearts of those who witness it. Over time, that example becomes a compass for others when they face challenges. The memory of a person's character influences decisions long after their presence is gone. Someone might say, "I remember how she never compromised her honesty," or "He always treated people with dignity." Those memories do not fade. They become part of the moral fabric of families, communities, and even entire cultures. That is how character continues to live. Reputation can be managed with strategy, but character must be cultivated with discipline. It is built day by day, decision by decision. It requires sacrifice because it often asks you to choose what is right over what is easy, what is lasting over what is temporary. The paradox is that when you focus on character, reputation often takes care of itself. People eventually recognize consistency, even if they do not applaud it in the moment. But if you focus only on reputation, you risk losing both, because reputation without character is hollow, and time always exposes emptiness. A legacy that endures is never built on reputation alone. Achievements may gain attention, charm may win admiration, and reputation may open doors, but only character keeps those doors open. Character ensures that your influence does not die with your name. It builds a continuity of trust, respect, and inspiration that outlasts your own life. While reputation is borrowed from others, character is owned by you. And when the years pass, it is character, not reputation, that sustains remembrance and secures a lasting place in the hearts of people. Service defines significance. Legacy is measured not by what is accumulated, but by what is contributed. The world often tells us that success is about how much we can gather for ourselves, wealth, recognition, possessions, or titles. But when the final chapter of a life is written, no one measures significance by the size of a bank account or the number of accolades received. They measure it by the lives touched, the hearts uplifted, and the difference made in the lives of others. Contribution, not accumulation, is what transforms existence into meaning. Accumulation is temporary. No matter how much one owns, nothing material can be carried beyond this life. The house eventually changes hands, the money is spent, the trophies gather dust. What lasts is the impact of service. A kind word spoken in someone's darkest hour, a hand extended when others turned away, a sacrifice made for the good of another. These contributions ripple forward in ways that accumulation never can. The power of service is that it multiplies. One act of generosity can inspire countless others to do the same, creating a chain of significance that stretches far beyond the individual. Service also reshapes the way people are remembered. Think about those whose names endure through time. They are not remembered because of how much they owned, but because of how much they gave. Leaders who poured themselves into their communities, teachers who shaped generations, caregivers who healed with compassion, these are the lives that leave legacies. Their significance is not found in monuments, but in the continued flourishing of those they touched. The memory of their service becomes a living force, inspiring others to carry forward the same spirit of contribution. What makes service so powerful is that it redefines worth. Accumulation often divides people, creating hierarchies of who has more and who has less. But service unites because it is an equalizer. No matter how little or how much one possesses, the choice to contribute is always available. A smile, a lesson, a gesture of encouragement, these cost nothing, yet they enrich others in immeasurable ways. Service is not about giving what is left over, but about giving with intention, about recognizing that significance is not created by taking, but by lifting others higher. Service also builds continuity. A person who dedicates their life to contribution plants seeds that continue to grow long after they are gone. A mentor may leave wisdom that shapes the choices of a future leader. A parent's quiet sacrifices may ripple through the values of generations. A stranger's act of kindness may inspire a lifetime of compassion in the one who received it. These contributions create a living legacy, ensuring that one's influence endures not in material possessions, but in the ongoing impact of service. The measure of true greatness lies in what is given, not what is gained. Accumulation satisfies the self, but service strengthens the world. Those who focus only on accumulation may achieve temporary recognition, but those who devote themselves to service achieve eternal significance. Their names are carried in gratitude, their memory honored in stories, their impact visible in lives transformed. Service defines significance because it answers the question, what difference did this life make? Accumulation may answer how much someone had, but contribution answers how much someone gave. And in the end, it is the answer to that question, the measure of service, that determines the depth, reach, and continuity of a legacy. Stories carry the spirit forward. When people retell your words and actions, they keep your essence alive long after you're gone. Every life lived leaves behind more than memories. It leaves behind narratives. These stories are not just recollections. They are vessels of meaning, shaping how others understand who you were, what you stood for, and why you mattered. While material possessions fade and achievements lose their shine, stories endure. They are repeated at dinner tables, whispered in quiet moments of reflection, and passed from generation to generation. Through stories, a life continues to speak even in absence. A story is more than a sequence of events, it is a reflection of values. When people tell the story of your courage and adversity, they are not only remembering what happened, they are carrying forward the spirit of resilience. When they recount your kindness to strangers, they are transmitting the essence of compassion. Every time a story is told, it becomes an invitation for others to embody the same qualities. This is why stories are powerful. They are not just about the past, they are guides for the future. They serve as reminders of how to live, how to respond, and how to endure. Think about the figures in history whose names have lasted centuries. Their achievements may be listed in books, but it is the stories of their character, their sacrifices, and their choices that truly keep them alive. The story of someone who stood for justice despite the cost becomes a rallying cry for those who face injustice today. The tale of someone who gave selflessly becomes an example that challenges others to do the same. In this way, stories extend beyond remembrance, they act as fuel for action. Stories also shape identity within families and communities. A child may never meet a grandparent, but through stories they come to know their strength, humor, or wisdom. Those stories create a bridge across time, giving the child a sense of belonging and continuity. In a community, the stories of leaders, teachers, or ordinary people who made extraordinary contributions become the threads that hold the culture together. They remind people of who they are and what they value, keeping traditions and principles alive. Without stories, legacies vanish. With them, legacies grow stronger. The beauty of stories is their ability to evolve while preserving essence. Details may change in retelling, but the spirit behind the story endures. Each person who shares it adds their perspective, ensuring that the story remains alive and relevant. In this way, a story is not static, it is living, breathing, and adapting while still holding onto the heart of the person it represents. This is why stories can last centuries. They are not trapped in time, but carried forward into each new generation that chooses to retell them. Even the smallest actions can become lasting stories. A simple gesture of generosity, a moment of courage, or a decision rooted in integrity might seem ordinary in the moment, but in the eyes of others, it becomes extraordinary. People remember how you made them feel, and they turn those feelings into stories worth sharing. You may forget an action, but those who were impacted will not. They will carry that story, repeat it, and pass it on, ensuring your spirit is never lost. When life is over, the stories people tell become the truest measure of the life lived. They do not recount every detail, but they choose the moments that mattered most. And in choosing those moments, they define your essence for the future. Stories carry the spirit forward because they allow a life to transcend time, to continue teaching, inspiring, and guiding long after the person is gone. Through them, your presence never truly disappears. Purpose extends beyond presence. A life aligned with purpose continues to influence even in absence. Presence is temporary, tied to the span of years and the physical space a person occupies, but purpose is timeless. When someone discovers and lives by a deeper why, their actions echo long after they are gone. The influence of a purposeful life does not depend on being physically present, because purpose embeds itself in people, in systems, in culture, and in memory. That is why the most enduring legacies are not built on moments of visibility, but on lives rooted in meaning. Presence is often misunderstood as power. People assume that influence is about being in the room, holding the stage, or occupying the position. But presence is fleeting. Titles pass to someone else, positions rotate, and even the most celebrated figures eventually fade from the spotlight. Purpose, on the other hand, is what transcends time and space. It is the reason people continue quoting someone's words, practicing their principles, and following their example decades or even centuries later. When life is aligned with purpose, absence does not end influence, it extends it. Purpose is the difference between living for recognition and living for impact. Those who chase recognition are remembered only as long as their achievements remain impressive. But those who live by purpose create ripples that continue to spread. A teacher may leave the classroom, but the values they instilled in students continue to guide choices for years. A leader may no longer hold office, but the vision they set in motion keeps shaping decisions. A parent may pass away, but the lessons of resilience and kindness they modeled continue in the lives of their children and grandchildren. Purpose creates continuity that presence alone cannot guarantee. The strength of purpose lies in its ability to multiply through others. When someone acts with clear conviction, they inspire others to carry that same conviction forward. Purpose is contagious, it plants itself in hearts and minds, urging people to adopt it as their own. That is why movements grow, why traditions endure, and why legacies outlast lifetimes. The person may no longer be physically present, but their purpose has been internalized by others, ensuring its survival and expansion. Purpose also anchors meaning in a way that presence cannot. Presence can be admired, but without purpose it risks being shallow. A life lived without purpose may appear full on the outside, but it leaves little behind when it ends. In contrast, a life lived with clarity of why might appear ordinary in the moment, yet it leaves extraordinary influence in its wake. Purpose transforms even the simplest actions into seeds of significance. A kind word, a bold stand, or a quiet sacrifice rooted in purpose becomes timeless because it is not about the moment, it is about the mission. Absence has a way of testing whether influence was rooted in presence or in purpose. If the impact disappears when the person leaves, then it was never truly purpose-driven. But if the impact continues, growing and guiding even in their absence, then it is proof of purpose. The greatest measure of a life is not what happens while someone is here, but what continues to happen because they were here. Purpose extends beyond presence because it shifts influence from the temporary to the eternal. It ensures that even when the physical presence fades, the essence of the life lived continues to inspire, to teach, and to lead. A purposeful life does not end, it transforms into a force that guides others, proving that the reach of true purpose is not bound by time, distance, or absence.